Demon Slayer is perfectly mid. There, I said it, but it might not be what you think. Before you flood my comments with things like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Demon Slayer is the greatest new gen anime. He's a baka. Allow me to explain my reasoning. And if you don't agree after that, then you can call me a baka in the comments all you want. But hear me out first. No one can deny Demon Slayer's popularity or that its animation is outstanding. But here's the thing, great anime needs more than just stunning visuals to leave a lasting impact. Think of it like this. You have the most delicious looking burger right in front of you. It's the Mona Lisa of burgers. But when you take your first bite, you realize something. It doesn't taste as good as it looks.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
This is very much like Demon Slayer. Its packaging looks great, but when you get into it, it feels like something's missing. This is because animation can only get you so far. It can pull people in, get them interested, and having us saying, but the shiny lights and bright colors can only keep attention for so long. Eventually people will need more. They'll need to also be entertained with stories, characters, and actual substance. How does that saying go? No matter how much you polish a turd, it's still a turd? I think that's right. Anyway, I'm not saying that Demon Slayer is a turd, but what I am saying is that its animation alone can't make it the greatest anime ever. It takes a lot more than that to make it peak. Connection with the characters and a story that makes you feel something inside or can change your view on life are what makes anime truly remarkable and rememberable. I think of animation more as a tool that can take storytelling to another level. Look at it this way, production quality is great in the moment, but something that will fade with time. I mean, people used to think this was the greatest thing ever. Plenty of other anime are already catching up to Demon Slayer's production quality, and they have better plots. So again, animation is great in the moment, but a well-written story can be timeless. But now we must answer, what makes a great story? A great story is one that pulls the audience in and makes them feel something, or questions their way of thinking. It needs to have characters to connect with, a plot that has conflict and proper resolution, because without these elements, and keep in mind there are other things needed, the story will be forgettable. Because we ultimately remember what we feel. Think back to all of your favorite things and memories. Don't they all come with some emotion tied to them? Because if the story itself doesn't resonate with you or make an impact at all, then it will be forgotten no matter how beautiful the art is. So let's briefly break down Demon Slayer's story. Tanjiro is on a mission to cure his demonic sister and take revenge on the demon that killed his family. In its simplest form, Demon Slayer is a story about revenge and following the hero's journey. If you're not familiar with the hero's journey, just know it's one of the most used storytelling frameworks ever. Think Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Shrek, and my personal favorite, Nacho Libre. Demon Slayer's story is pretty straightforward and easy to follow, but would this simplicity be considered a bad thing? I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? There are tons of anime out there following this exact same framework. But to be honest, we eat it up every time, no matter how much it's served. Yes, I'll take your finest shonen plot about a MC who's weak, but becomes the strongest, and has a lot of friends, a side of epic battles, oh, and if it's not too much to ask, make sure to have the MC be a crybaby. So could the story be beefed up? Yes, of course it could, but that's not Demon Slayer's main focus. Their focus is to have a flashy battle anime that gets your adrenaline pumping, with a story so simple that anyone could follow, and a touch of emotion provided by the backstory of every villain they fight. Don't you just love hearing all their backstories? So in a way, the story, while lacking in depth or complexity, is good enough to earn Demon Slayer worldwide popularity. And that should say something, right? Stories don't necessarily have to be extremely complex to be good, but they do need more to be great. What was that other thing I said stories needed? Oh yes, characters. You can't have a great story without characters to connect to, right? Well, Demon Slayer has those, kinda. To be honest, the characters in Demon Slayer are a mix. They're like that jelly bean game, I think it's called Bean Boozled or something. Basically, it's where all the jelly beans look really good, but some of the flavors will literally make you puke. I think there's actually a puke flavor. Nasty. Some of the characters, both heroes and villains, are included in this, I think are just plain forgettable. Don't get me wrong, most of the characters are uniquely designed, unless you're a side character or just not important. But even with the unique designs, a lot of them are just boring. This might be my personal opinion, but none of the villains have really stood out to me. Yes, they're kinda cool and the fights they're in are entertaining, but that doesn't stay in my mind like other villains do. I mean, I couldn't name any of them even if I tried. If we were to compare these villains to actually well-done villains in other anime, then you'd see what I mean. Let's do a quick quiz, alright? How many of these villains can you name? How about these? See what I mean? Shameless plug here. I have 2 videos out about villains on my channel, you should totally check them out. Well done villains can really make the difference in an anime, and I think Demon Slayer just falls a little short in that area. As far as heroes go, I think there are a couple that stand out. That is Rengoku, Tengen, and I'll include Tanjiro in this. These three stand out to me because of what I mentioned earlier. They made me feel something. Not to mention that they had the best fights in the whole anime. We'll talk about fights here in a second. But not only that, their actual personalities are what shine through, as I feel they were really well written. I mean, how could you not feel inspired by these guys? Yes, I know Tanjiro is a crybaby, but he got that dog in him sometimes and he's always pushing through, so I accept his crying. The crying I don't accept is from this guy right here. I know I'm about to piss a ton of people off right now, but I can't stand this guy. His abilities are cool, but he has to be asleep to use them. Like, bruh. He's almost as annoying as this guy. But even if the characters get a mixed review, one thing I know Demon Slayer will always deliver on is their fights. No one can deny that these Demon Slayer fights are incredibly well done. The art is fluid, the colors pop out well, the music pairs perfectly, and the voice actors kill it every time to give you those goosebumps. The one thing that still confuses me though is about the breathing powers. Are they real or not? Apparently all the awesome effects we are seeing are not actually happening in the anime, so Tanjiro doesn't actually have fire coming out of his sword. I think this was a lame choice because if the demons get powers, why not the demon slayers? And I'm pretty sure I've seen some of these demons reacting to the visual effects, so I'm not really sure. But either way, I'm just gonna keep believing that the effects are there no matter what anyone says. Now, are fights all that matter in an anime? Can great fights make anime peak? Well, that depends. Some fights are so memorable that the anime sticks in our minds. But I'd argue it wasn't the fight itself that makes it rememberable. I would say it's more the build-up and the story behind the fight. Would the Kakashi vs Obito fight have been as effective if we didn't know their long history? Naruto spent a long time building this fight, so when it finally happened, we were all satisfied. So the main problem is that Demon Slayer fights lack depth and proper building.
Final submission.
Demon Slayer is undoubtedly a popular anime that has found its way into the hearts of many. It has some great features when talking about its animation, music, fights, and some characters, but its ability to be called peak is diminished thanks to some of the areas it lacks in. And in comparison to other anime, it just falls short. Do I think this anime will be remembered years from now? It's hard to say. But what I do know is that this anime is great for beginners. I think this is going to be one of those introductory anime for many first-time watchers. And if it's able to bring more people into the anime world, then I say it deserves some respect. With all that being said, I believe that Demon Slayer is perfectly mid, and that's not a bad thing. But if we are talking about perfect, if you want to see some fights I think are worthy of the title perfect, then check out this video. Click it!